All right, so I'm going to get this report. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I give you 5-second countdown.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you for joining us today on the New Film Media Festival. And this morning I have the honor of speaking with Mr. Tom Vacar. Tom, nice to meet you in person.
Thank you. Great to be here. It's a wonderful event.
Okay, so what's the part you're taking in this event today?
Well, I'm being the moderator of one of the first panels, and we're going to talk about new media and what that really is. And when people think of new media, they have a lot of different ideas. To put it like in its best form, new media would be anything that isn't what we traditionally think of media as being: traditional television, traditional radio, traditional print, for example. All of those things have all kinds of elements of new media to them. But what new media brought to the mix was more democracy for more people to do more things. Filmmakers can make films now with equipment that is very inexpensive. It used to be, for example, if you wanted to produce a movie, you were talking millions and millions of dollars to produce a high-grade movie. Well, nowadays, with a simple laptop and a good camera, you can produce some very nice stuff, produce it yourself, edit it yourself, do all of these things. And this, because of the internet, allows more people to have a chance to see more different kinds of thoughts, more different kinds of stories, more different kinds of documentaries and things like that, and everything else, because more people are able to do it. And that's what it is. It democratizes the media. So when I think of new media, I really think of more like the people's media, or the media that anyone can participate in.
That's so true, because if you look at YouTube, it's amazing some of the shows that are getting the most hits.
Right.
Some guy in a parking lot with a camera.
That's exactly right, and that's what's so nice about it, is that there were a lot of people out there with good ideas, but they would have to go to gatekeepers, so to speak. It used to be, for example, that before there was the electronic media, the gatekeeper of the news was the newspaper. Radio came along and changed that a little bit. Television changed it more. Movies certainly were always a part of all of that mix, but now, because of the ability to put this on the internet to find your own audience, you don't have to go clear this with anyone. You can kind of do it, and if you do well, and if you can get people to accept it and to talk about it and to pass the word around, you can, with a simple YouTube video, become very successful at the media business, whatever you perceive the media business to be.
That is so true. But you're a seasoned media person. How many years have you been doing this?
I started doing this back in 1978, so I've been at it well over 30 years, and almost all of that in what we would call traditional media, which is to say I've done television, radio, and some print. Now, in recent years, we have created a website at Channel 2, and I've done many contributions to that. And just at home, for example, what I used to do, like all of us used to do, we'd go on a trip or something, we would take pictures. And then we would have a bunch of pictures, maybe in an album, usually in a shoebox or something,
Right.
and they would kind of be forgotten. Well, now, what I do on many occasions is, if I go out on a trip or if I'm going out to some sort of event, I might shoot pictures, might shoot video, and using my Macintosh with iMovie is one example of that. I've created some actually very interesting pieces that aren't your typical, this is what I did with my summer vacation, but they're really kind of entertaining to music. Anybody would watch it, you would hope would say, gee, that's kind of interesting. It's not about me, it's about the event, it's about what was going on, it's about the things that I saw. And obviously then you have to make it interesting, and that's what the challenge of media is to make anything that you do interesting. It should be informative, it should be entertaining and all that, but it has to be interesting. People have to sit there and want to watch it, read it, explore it, interact with it in order to be successful.
It's so interesting the way that social media is changing the world. These days, once you put something on YouTube, you never know what can happen.
Well, we see things that they call it viral. It's like, it's not a disease, but it's like a virus that somebody sees this, and because of things like Facebook and things like email and all of that, you can send this to friends who send it to friends who send it to friends, and who of us that has an email account or a Facebook or any of those things, who of us doesn't get all of this kind of stuff? And that's the new media. It is a way of communicating things in a way that simply was not available substantially even 10 years ago. So it's a really interesting way of doing things, so much so that even the traditional media has embraced it fully.
Yes, I've noticed, and when you think about what you had to go through in the past to get hired into a job like the one you have, you had to go to school this many years, pass this many exams, and then connect with the right people.
Yeah, you really had to go through a very substantial filtering process, which at that time served the interests of all who were interested very well. But the truth of the matter was there were plenty of good ideas that were dreamed up over many, many decades that never saw the light of day simply because there wasn't somebody to say, I'm going to give you the green light, I'm going to allow you to do this, I'm going to hire you for this position. You don't need that anymore. What you need to have is a good idea, and then once you have that good idea, give it wings, and then if it does turn into something that's like a business, then you have to observe kind of the traditional business rules in terms of, paying the taxes and doing all of that stuff. But truly anybody can do it. A good idea is good enough as long as you execute it well enough.
That's very true. And so for having served in this arena for as many years as you have, what would you want to say to aspiring young people out there that are interested in being in the media, in whatever role?
I would say that the one piece of advice I wish I would have gotten when I was thinking about what I wanted to do is do what you love. Because if you do what you love, that will be part of your pay. It will also be something you will probably do better than something somebody said you should do or you ought to do or, this was the family business, etc. Do what you love, do it well, and the money, if that is a big issue to you, will eventually come. But if you get into something where you get money, what you will find, if you're not enjoying doing it, is after a while it becomes a drag. And that drag then becomes kind of a vexation on your spirit. And what you can do, which is the most wonderful thing about new media, is you can still have your day job and you can still do this. And if you do this well, then you can get rid of the day job. Or if you just do it for fun, not everybody has to be a media mogul. If you do something and you do it for fun, and it pleases you, and it does something for you and your circle of friends and all of that, that should be enough. But if it should happen to go viral, if it should happen to become commercially successful, all much the better.
So I couldn't agree with you more. I've done many jobs in the past and now that I'm doing what I love, I could sleep at the job.
Yeah.
So
well, I think that, it's truth. It's like, I go to work every day excited. And I've been at this a long time, but there's not a day that goes by that I'm not excited to go to work and say, gee, I wonder what we're going to do today. Mm-hmm. Whether that is a serious news story or whether it's something that's going on in an area that I'm interested in, like aviation, aerospace. To me, those kinds of stories are just fun to do. Let alone, you want to do them well, and you want to be a good journalist and all that, but it's just fun. So I have fun every day. I would rather do what I do than anything else in the world. I'm a lawyer by training. I have a business background. I have a lot of other backgrounds, but the thing I love to do the most is tell stories. And I've been very lucky to be able to do that. And because I realize I'm lucky, I try to work real hard at doing it well.
Well, you tell a great story. You're a great storyteller.
Well, that's the job.
Obviously, you found your passion.
Yes, I did.
Well, this is really a privilege and an honor to meet you in person.
It's a privilege and honor to meet you, and I just hope everybody, they get these computers and they think that they're maybe only for email or they're only for looking up stuff on Google, and the reality is within that computer is an entire world that is to be discovered, and the computer primarily in the new media tends to be the tool of choice and the most important tool that we see so far because of all the software that's available. So I certainly think that anybody who's even slightly interested will learn a few things and have a lot of fun doing it.
They sure will. And I thank you so much for your time. I think that the social media, just like everything else, has its positives and its negatives.
Absolutely. And you can use it for negative things, and there are a lot of people that do use it for negative things. But I think the good news is that when you have an intelligent population, people can discern some of that stuff, and after a while they start sorting it out. And I trust people. I'm not one of those people who thinks that, if they don't listen to what I'm saying, they don't know what's going on. That's nonsense. We all have our sense of what's going on. We just have to be discerning about it, and the more we do it, the more discerning we become.
Well, that's encouraging coming from you, because you've obviously met all types of people in the job that you do. So when you say trust people, that's rather encouraging.
Yeah, that's one of the most fun parts of doing any kind of media is that you're generally interacting with people that are pretty smart, pretty interesting, pretty fun to be around. And you do get to meet people, and you do get to tell stories, and you get to show to other people, if showing is what you're doing, you get to show them conditions of life and certain things that are good, bad, and indifferent. And sometimes when you show things that are very negative, you can help actually improve them, and that is a very important part of what any media is about. The good news is that when you think about new media, and I guess it's the last thing I would say is this, the first new media was people drawing on cave walls. That was the first new media.
Right.
And we keep building and building and building upon that. So all media at one point was new media. And the wonderful thing about this is there are so many tools, so many opportunities, so many different things to do, that this new media will give birth to countless other new medias, and that's the exciting part about it, because we don't have any idea where we're going, and that's the best part of an adventure.
Exactly. No disappointment.
Not at all.
When you have expectation, then you're opening doors for disappointment.
Yes. One final bit of advice, never step in front of the bus, though, because that'll end everything right away.
Well, before you go, I have to ask you this. What would you say, over all the years of doing what you do, would be the experience that's impacted you the most?
I think the experience, which is not a specific thing, but I think it's the combination of seeing things, doing things, meeting people, going places that in no other endeavor would you ever be able to do. That to me has been the fun of it, because it is that you can do something different every day. You can do something literally different every minute, and that's the joy of it, is that it is one of the most exciting things to just keep your interest in life and interest in the world around you going, is the fact that the world is exactly what you're covering, maybe story by story, but it's all part of this big thing we call the world.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today at the New Media Film Festival.
You got it.
And I hope I'll be seeing more of you in the future.
I hope so too.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Take care.
Thank you. And I get to speak with Mr. James
D'Alessandro.
Thank you. I don't want to mess it up.
That's all right. It's everyone else does. No reason you can't.
Okay, well, I am so glad that I got the chance to speak with you. We were supposed to have this interview earlier this week, and it didn't work out. So I want you to tell me all those things that you were going to tell me then, like who is James? What is he? How is he connected to this event?
Well, I am a novelist and a filmmaker, screenwriter. I wrote 1906, the best-selling novel about the San Francisco earthquake and fire, and I wrote the Warner Brothers, it's now Pixar film. I guess it's supposed to be Pixar's first live-action feature, and maybe their second. Brad Bird is supposedly still the director, I believe. I wrote a television movie called Citizen Jane, was on last year. I'm writing a pilot for the series now. So I've been active writing film and television and books in San Francisco for a long time now. I'm very dedicated to trying to create work in San Francisco for all these great craftsmen and artists we have here. We need a lot more.
I agree with you, and it's such an honor to meet you and hear about all this great stuff that you've done. Are you a native of San Francisco?
No, my line is I wasn't born here, but I do plan on dying here.
So where are you from originally?
I am from Cleveland, Ohio, and growing up you saw things in magazine and on television about California and San Francisco. I saw a documentary on the Beat Poets when I was at Ohio University, an interview with Lawrence Ferlinghetti and Allen Ginsberg, and so I hitchhiked out here when I got out of college, and 2 years later I was sitting in Lawrence Ferlinghetti's house staring out the same window where they had shot the documentary on him, surprisingly. And so I founded the Santa Cruz Poetry Festival. When I got here, I told them I was this great young poet, and they said, well, unfortunately, that died 10 years ago. So I founded the Santa Cruz Poetry Festival, which was the biggest literary event in the country for 4 years. And all the guys who had been my heroes, Ken Kesey, Allen Ginsberg, William Burroughs, Charles Bukowski, I got to be friendly with all of them. So it was a nice thing, and really kind of got me firmly rooted in the writing and arts community here, which was very nice.
Well, obviously it's your gift and it's who you are, because so many people have tried, and sometimes they don't get as far as you've gotten. A guy who hitchhiked out here to be doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's not an easy path being a filmmaker or a writer. but it's a very rewarding path. I mean, you do this because you love it, and if it happens to work out somewhere down the line, you just have to be grateful for that, and then you have to realize that the community needs a lot more than what we currently have. I have several different series in development, all set in San Francisco. What's really going to change things here is writers and producers insisting that creating things here and insisting that they get done here. There's ways to do it. You just have to be creative. You have to be everything. You have to be a writer. You have to be a producer. You have to be business savvy. And it takes a lot of effort. But it can be done.
So the movies that you've made in the past, did you make them in San Francisco or were they done in Los Angeles?
Well, Citizen Jane was on Hallmark in 2009. We managed to shoot quite a bit of it in San Francisco.
Okay.
I insisted, and they were, they love San Francisco, so that was good. And that kind of set us up to do the series here. I'll have the pilot done probably next week, the script. And the documentary I did on the 1906 earthquake called The Damnedest Finest Ruins was on KQED last year. That was all done here. It was done in San Francisco and then in Napa, so that was done here. So, yeah, whatever I've been able to do, all of my books, I've published 4 books. They're all set in San Francisco. Yeah, I've had, listen, not the same kind of success I'd like, but it seems like it's still coming, so hopefully that'll continue.
Well, in California, Los Angeles is known for being like the movie mecca of the state. Why do you live in San Francisco and not Los Angeles if this is what you're all about?
Well, because American film is way too important to be left in the hands of Hollywood.
Oh, great. What are some of the difficulties you're having then or are you having any difficulties trying to make movies here in the San Francisco Bay Area? Well,
San Francisco has always been an expensive and difficult place to work. But some of the politicians here, Michele Alioto Pier has been very dedicated to trying to change things. We have a new film commissioner who's very dedicated. The city's starting to offer some rebates. The hotels are supporting. And what we're going to do is appeal to people. Look, if you want to live here, you have to make a little bit of sacrifice. We're not going to pay the same amount of money that you might get somewhere else, but maybe we'll compensate on the back end. So Dean Jones, who is Chris Columbus's production manager, he just was executive producer of The Help, which is a big hit this year. He and I have been having lots of conversations about this. You just have to let people know working here is special, and everybody's got to make some sacrifices. And by doing that, we can offset the tax advantages of other places, and again, on the back end, on the profits and things like that, you just have to be a little more generous, and you have to do something really unique and unusual, which is be honest and give people what they have coming. And so I don't think the business part is that difficult. I just think you have that. The problem is that artists are rarely businessmen, and businessmen, some of them would like to think that they're artists, but if everybody kind of respects the other guy and does their job well, I think you could make things happen. There's good filmmakers here. Phil Kaufman has been making films here for 30 years. Francis Coppola still works here, so it's time that others, guys like myself and a few others, start contributing, making sure that these things work and that we find employment. There's thousands of the best craftsmen in the world working here and living here, hoping to work here, and so we have to change that.
Well, I know that there's so many young companies getting started here with movies. Like there's the San Francisco Renaissance Group, and then there's Scary Cow. What do you think with all these up-and-coming small groups will be able to establish a place where people can produce more documentaries, movies, etc. here in the Bay Area? And if not, what do you think would be the reason why not, based on your experience?
Well, I see. I can't speak for those other groups. I mean, I respect what they're trying to do, and if it works, great. Unfortunately, the money is still in Los Angeles. Okay. But they do love San Francisco, and if you can present to them quality projects and a reasonable approach to making them a fiscally responsible. They shot, Dean Jones was the production manager on Trauma here. He managed to shoot in San Francisco for less money than it would have cost in Los Angeles. That's the kind of thing that they want to hear. They love San Francisco. They love the Bay Area. You have all these different locations here. If you can present to them something that makes business sense from a location and creative sense, they love this place. So again, I no disrespect to the rest of those folks. I'm focused on trying to do something that's substantial financially for the entire community. Not just my little indie films, which I love, but a series, a quality, intelligent series or two that would really make a difference. That's what really changes things, is a series where you have ongoing work every year for hundreds and hundreds of people.
Thank you so very much. It really was a privilege, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you around
Nice to
today.
see you again.
Thank
Pleasure
you.
spending time with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5, 4, 3, 2.
We're continuing our coverage with the attendees today at the new Film Media Festival. And right now, I have the privilege of speaking with yet another fascinating person. And I am going to introduce Tracy. And Tracy will tell us, which company she's with and why she's here today. Tracy, thank you for coming and thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm with Greenhouse Studios. We are one of the sponsors for the New Media Film Festival this year, and I am the project manager for them. And we're located in Burbank, California.
Okay, so you are a project manager for them. What does that mean, project manager?
That means I manage all the projects that come in the building, whether they're in-house projects and client-based projects. So everything that comes through our doors, I have to make sure that it's scheduled properly, that the clients get their deliverables on time, and that we are producing what we are getting paid to produce for them.
Okay, so you guys, what do you guys produce? I know it's a film company.
Yes, it's a production company, but we deal with all types of media, whether it's film, TV, web series, packages, transcoding media for certain clients. We do offline and online editing and things like that. And
Talk shows.
Yes, and coloring.
Oh, wonderful. So how long have you been working with them?
A little over 2.5 years.
And is it something you enjoy a lot? Is this your passion? Everybody here today is talking about passion. Would you say this is yours?
I would say that it is a part of my passion. I'm a filmmaker as well, and being a project manager is my day job, but I'm a director, so.
Can you tell us some films that you've directed, if any?
Yes, I've directed a short film that was in the African American Women's Film Festival. It actually won. My short film did that, and I've also directed several music videos for some independent artists. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm currently working on my first feature.
I love it. I love it. I love it when people are doing what they love. I mean, that's what I'm doing now, and it's taken me many years to discover
Yes.
this is my passion, but it's a whole different thing. It doesn't feel like work, right?
That's correct.
And so, are you planning to produce any more movies in the near future?
Yes. Yes.
And so, are you hoping to recruit some good movie scripts while you're here in San Francisco?
I am. We're here to help the independent filmmaker finish their pictures. If they've already have it in the can and they're looking for a decent way and a very economical way to finish the post work on it, they can come to Greenhouse and we can help them do that.
Okay, and so were you born and raised in Los Angeles, and did you have to take any formal training to do this, or is this just a passion that you developed by working on different projects?
I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm newly implanted to LA. I'm here a little over 4 years now, and it was my life's passion. I knew when I was a young girl that I wanted to direct. I was always putting together the shows for the holidays with my cousins. This is what we're going to do for Christmas. This is what we're going to do here and there. And then I went to film school and got the formal training that I needed to complete that.
Very impressive. So when you the movies that you have produced, where were they shown? Was it at the Sundance Film Festival? Was it in a certain movie theater?
No, haven't been to Sundance yet, me personally, but we do have some films that are slated to be in Sundance this year as Greenhouse, the company. But my experience has been music videos that I've directed have been on MTV and VH1 Soul. The film festival, I did the film festival circuit with my short film, and I look forward to working in a Greenhouse and developing other shows, and I'm also pitching a pilot. So.
Wonderful. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot today about, movies being produced in San Francisco versus movies just being produced in Los Angeles. And we're all aware that the movies are made all over the world, but hopefully we're going to be another Mecca here in San Francisco. What do you think about that? And if that turns out to be true, how do you see your company participating and helping new producers here in the area?
I think that I've only been to San Francisco once, but I didn't really get a chance to be in the city itself. Just went to the stadium to a game, but I really love the architecture here, and I believe, being a director and my bosses are also filmmakers, that San Francisco could be a very nice backdrop for some of the projects that we have in the works right now. And the people that are the filmmakers that are here in San Francisco, they can reach out to us, and definitely we can see what we can do to helping them on the post side.
Wonderful. So if someone wants to get their scripts in front of you, because I know you mentioned this on the panel discussion,
Yes.
but I just wanted to ask for people who are going to watch this,
Yes.
how do they get their material to you guys?
You can look us up at www.greenhousestudios.net, or you can email us at info@greenhousestudios.net.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So are you going to be frequent in this area to kind of keep up with what's happening here in terms of filmmaking, or are you only going to come when they have another festival like this?
Seeing that I've been implanted into the city for this festival, I'm very interested in knowing what else it has to offer. So I'll definitely be here, not only for film festivals, but just to do a lot of location scouting.
Well, good. I'd like to get you on my talk show when you're here next time. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you for
time.
having me.
And hopefully I'll be seeing more of you later today.
Yes, you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to get, it's recording now, so I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, so I'm going to get, it's recording now, so I'm going to give you 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll give you 5 second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank
you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll give you 5 second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.